You guys, it happened. I finally have an external monitor that I have been using for the past few weeks now, and it's been a nice experience. Now, this isn't sponsored, but I will disclose that AndyCine did send me this monitor to give a review. Now, there's a ton of different options out there as far as external monitors go, and I know it can be kind of overwhelming. And I've used a bunch of different options out there, but I don't necessarily need what else those monitors have to offer. So that's why I've never really gotten myself to fork out the cash. And so I think this is a great option for those who are just looking into an external monitor for themselves and just don't really know what they need necessarily yet in an external monitor. After using this monitor for a while now though, I do have some thoughts about it and why other options could be better for you and why this option could be a great option as well for you. Anyways, we're gonna be going over some of the features on this monitor, some of the advantages, and doing some tests, and then I'll end with my final thoughts. What? This? It's a dragon drink. And it's delicious. I can admit that I like pink drinks from Starbucks. No shame. My name's Dustin, your video tour guide, and please keep your arms and legs inside your chairs at all times. Sit back, relax, and enjoy the video. So this monitor is called the AndyCine C7, and it comes in at $270. It's a 7-inch 1920 by 1200 4K touchscreen monitor, and it has a peak brightness of 2200 nits. As far as the ergonomics go, it is made of plastic, has 3 custom buttons on the top, a scroll wheel for the menu, an SD card slot, a headphone jack, HDMI in and HDMI out, power button, 8.4 volt DC out and 12 volt DC in, quarter 20 threads on all sides besides the top of the monitor, and it can be powered by L series batteries. It comes with a nice carrying case, cold shoe mount for the monitor, battery and charger, a micro HDMI to HDMI, and mini HDMI to HDMI. The coolest thing on this monitor though is the functionality and features. Like I mentioned, it's a touchscreen. When you double tap the screen, it'll pull up the menu to change and enable all the settings to your liking, such as peaking, zebras, monochrome view, false color, grid, frame and center marker, scan modes, the monitor's aspect ratio, D-squeeze monitor, screen flip horizontal or vertical, zoom times, freeze frame, pixel to pixel, waveform monitor, parade, vector scope, RGB histogram and histogram, audio meter, LUT monitor, LUT import, settings for the screen itself, and a menu to custom set the buttons and the scroll wheel button options. Yeah, that was a lot, I know. Some of my favorite things on the monitor is it's super customizable. So for example, when you turn on peaking, you can set the strength. Zebras, you can also set the level. Monochrome view, you can not only do black and white, but also different colors, and even 2 different false color types. There's a ton of different aspect ratios when you turn on the frame markers, and you can even change the color of the frame. The vertical flip already came in handy when I was filming one of these videos, and it was just easier to flip the monitor over. And eventually, when we do some anamorphic videos on this channel, hint, hint to upcoming videos, there's a bunch of different squeeze values depending on which lens we're using. Like I mentioned, there's a ton of different scopes on the monitor, but there's also an option to turn on all of them or just the one you need. There's support to also import your own LUT, so you can monitor your log footage, which is nice and slick, but never fear as well, if you're lazy like me, there is some built-in LUTs as well, which includes Vlog. Oh, and if you notice the monitor is off color-wise by a bit compared to your camera, you can adjust the color to match better. In the last menu, you can customize all the buttons on the monitor. I like to have the scroll wheel as the magnification, F1 as false color, F2 as peaking, and F3 as all waveforms. There's also a few cool features on the screen itself. If you slide your finger on the left side of the screen, it'll adjust the brightness, and then on the right side, it'll adjust the volume, and you can pinch with both fingers to zoom in as well. When you hit the scroll wheel button, it'll pull up this menu so you can access a whole bunch of other options, and of course you can also customize this to whatever you need, and you can just swipe up from the bottom to pull up this menu. So how does it do in direct sunlight? I can say it's definitely bright enough to see the screen in direct sunlight, and this probably doesn't translate well to YouTube, but with the brightness up all the way, It's definitely easier to see in person. I know that this footage you can't really tell, but it is brighter than the actual monitor of the camera itself. The HDMI supports up to 4K at 24 FPS, and the audio jack monitors the audio from the HDMI. All right, so let me get into the nitpicky things about the monitor, and then I'll finish off with my thoughts. The first thing to remember about this monitor is that it's a budget monitor. So it does feel pretty cheap in my hand. And when mine came, the hot shoe mount or cold shoe mount on the monitor arm was bent, so I had to twist it with some pliers to make it straight. It also gets really hot, so keep that in mind, especially when I was outside. I could barely even touch it. And then also, if you're an S-series user, it doesn't come with a full-size HDMI, so you'll have to buy a shorter HDMI cable if you plan to use it on your camera. Some of the settings on the monitor, like peaking for example, is also kind of finicky. Like the peaking will appear on your settings if you're displaying your settings on your viewfinder, so keep that in mind. There's also some latency to the monitor when it's connected to your camera, and this could be a camera issue though, and not the external monitor, because I think this also happens on other brands of external monitors as well. I do wish that it would accept Cinema 4K at up to 60 FPS as well, since I shoot most of my videos on the S1H in Cinema 4K, but not always 60 FPS, obviously. It would just be nice to have that. And watch out for the possibility of some glitches happening when it converts the signal to a supported format. It's also pretty big and gets pretty heavy once you add the battery, but this is pretty common with most external monitors, so again, a nitpick. Sometimes the touchscreen isn't as sensitive as it could be, but it's not bad at all once you figure out how to touch it. I also went ahead and tested the waveforms and scopes to see how well they display the image accurately, and it seems to be pretty accurate when I compare it to my waveform monitor on my S1H. My one complaint is that the scopes are a little bit difficult to read, like how they are on the S1H, but just takes some time to get used to. I tested out the false color modes to see how well it does for helping me expose properly, and again, seems to be fairly accurate. Overall, this is a super awesome monitor. I really do love the way that the touchscreen is set up, and I didn't even read the manual, and it only took me like 10 minutes to figure out how the display worked just by messing with it. My personal opinion, I think this monitor is best used as a small client monitor, or even a monitor for yourself, especially if you own a camera without a flip out screen. It's been super handy while I'm shooting these videos, since I have this teleprompter rig and can't see the flip out screen unless I lean over here. And when I do live streams, yes, we do live streams here, by the way, if you didn't know, I use my A7 III, and it's very handy to have the HDMI out so I can send the signal from my Sony to the monitor and then back out to my capture card. Other external monitors, a lot of the time you are paying for the ability to either record externally, or you're paying for a lot easier to read scopes. So if those things are important to you, keep that in mind. But for my purposes, mostly just using it to view myself when I can't while I'm recording is extremely convenient. But I think that's really everything. What are your guys' thoughts? Let me know down in the comments, and if you want to check out the monitor, there's a link to it in the description, and it's an affiliate link, of course, so that'll support the channel if you think this monitor will fit your needs. I also put a link to a bunch of different options that AndyCine has to offer in case you want to get one that's smaller, built differently, or whatever you're looking for. I also have a bunch of other links in case you want to support the channel, or you can just subscribe and hit the bell button to be notified of future uploads. Last thing, for those who have stuck around until the end of the video, I'm doing a giveaway for reaching 1,000 subscribers, and you can find out more info on how to enter and get more entries at the bottom of the description. Until I see you guys again though, happy filming.